When we jump in today, I want to talk about, really your military transition going into real estate. A lot of people maybe are listening who are military, and there's a lot that are not. But the transition from a military and the mindset that's brought it forward, I'd love to talk about that and the impact it's made, on your business. What are the mindset shifts or habits from your service have helped you succeed in this business? And like, what advice would you give to other veterans looking to make a similar move? How do you come across that volume of leads? Like, people would be like, well, how do I find those properties? How do you come across access to those? Or, people will ask a lot, what about wholesale? What about this? What's your quick answers to be like, this is kind of how you find them. This is where you look. You mentioned coming out like zero. This is a whole new career and played catch up, and you made new goals that you could achieve in the real estate space. You were like, this is it. Do you want to share? So welcome back to another powerhouse episode of the $1 Million Agent Blueprint, the podcast where top agents share the exact strategies, systems, and mindset that drive seven-figure success. So today I'm honored to introduce someone who brings discipline, strategic thinking, and real-world results to the table. We have Dustin Olverson. Dustin is a former military service member who has made a powerful powerhouse transition into the real estate industry. And really, he hasn't looked back since. With a mission-driven mindset and a relentless commitment to growth, Dustin has carved out a space for himself as a real estate agent, an expert investor, a house flipping specialist. He works in wholesale, has construction, owns a title company. I'll let him tell you more, because each time I talk to him, I learn something more. But he's known for taking, distressed properties, turning them into profitable situations, high performing assets. He's built wealth for himself and the generation for his own family, generational wealth. So it's not only for himself, but also for the clients and the partners who trust his vision. His unique blend of military precision, business savvy, and real estate expertise has helped him scale a thriving business that spans traditional sales, investment property acquisition, fix and flips, multiple businesses that are around the real estate industry. So in this episode, we're going to dive into Dustin's journey from service to sales, how he built his real estate empire from scratch, the systems that drive his investing success, the leadership, the discipline, and what the agents need to know if they want to transition from selling homes into building long-term wealth. Okay, so you're going to love this conversation. So grab a pen and get ready to be inspired. So let's welcome you to the show, Dustin. It's great to see you here today. And you want to share some more from what I've already said?
You did it all. I mean, you got it all. No, thank you for the invite. And, I'm happy to be here to be able to get this message out for us, us realtors, agents, agent investors. And let's talk about like how we help each other, the information, how we did it, how I'm doing it, how the team's doing it. So I'm here to share. You ask, I want to give it, and hopefully we can impact some of our fellow realtors and make some changes.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. And we had a chat right before we, went on camera here. So I'm constantly learning new things, and there's really so much that we can talk about here. I mean, we were sharing our dream boards, where we came from, things like that. But just for our audience, you and I met about a month ago at an event, a local regional event. We both also sell through EXP, and we own multiple businesses. But I was really impressed with your willingness to get back. And one of the things that agents need to think about, like myself, I had the dream of, when I met somebody and I'm like, what do you mean, you're 30 years old and you have 3 or 4 properties already? And that inspired me, to start thinking, I want to start building it. I'm not where you are, but, I feel like there's a lot of agents that maybe don't even know where to start, whether it's mindset, entrepreneur goal, to build their own wealth, build their portfolio, build their life, whatever their definition of success is. And also there's the people that have a couple properties, maybe like myself, who are like, how do I take it even a step further? How do I go here? And so I know you have some different organizations that you run. You can talk about that we're going to talk about more at the end so people can join you, follow you, learn where they can learn more. So I want to make sure that people know that that's going to come up. When we jump in today, I want to talk about, really your military transition going into real estate. A lot of people maybe are listening who are military, and there's a lot that are not, but the transition from a military and the mindset that's brought it forward. I'd love to talk about that and the impact it's made, on your business. And then we can talk more about, the strategies and investing more. But just to talk about that, when it comes to, as somebody who's transitioned from military into real estate, like what are the mindset shifts or habits, from your service have helped you succeed in this business? And like what advice would you give to other veterans looking to make a similar move?
Yes. So when I did retired about 2019, I did 26 years in the United States Army, retired here in Virginia. And the Army, well, the military has a program called a career skills program. And every soldier basically has the opportunity to take advantage of this program. And I decided to do it. I did it with Keller Williams and a team called the Redux Group. And, keeping a lot of things they tell us to do is change, make your change. You're going to be a civilian and you got to start thinking like them, take off the uniform, take off the marching, be a little bit easier. And I didn't do it. One, because I was comfortable with that. That was my identity of who I was. But, the discipline, the consistency, the holding yourself accountable to doing it when nobody else is doing it, to put in the time, the extra time to kind of get your 10,000 hours into something, I think that really helped me. And this, not giving up on what I wanted to achieve because the opportunity in real estate was there. I saw it around me. I saw, from, rich to poor, they were just doing great. Business was happening as much as you put into it, you got out of it. So I did maintain a lot of that need to put systems and processes in place, invent things of systems and processes when they're not in place, and to adopt good systems and practices that are already in place. So, learning models are what we would do is study how something operates or how a system operates, and we try to master it. And that's just what I apply to real estate. A lot of reading, though, and a lot of understanding and getting in a lot of the right rooms by networking. So no, that yeah, the military was very important. Taking my time to transition was very, very important as well. And then finding great people that want to share and help you grow. I did luck out with a lot of that.
Right. Yeah. So I just want to kind of pick up on something that you said, and I'm going to dive into different pieces of that. But you had mentioned something, and that I don't want to breeze over, which you said that 10,000 hours. So I believe that you're talking about how long it takes for you to really become an expert at anything. What is that 10,000, which is usually in the 5,000 range, but you said 10,000. So what is that? What did that 10,000 mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, it is that plus. So, I've been doing it for slightly over 5 years.
Real
And
estate.
real
You're doing
estate,
it. Okay.
right? Real estate. And I think I've been investing for maybe four of that. And I've done 100 and about 50 flips. Or, today I purchase about one house per week. Um, and I truly believe I didn't take any days off. My first 2.5 years, no vacations. I worked
Wow.
Saturdays and Sundays. I did the open houses because I was dedicated to getting my time. I really knew that, I can compress this by putting the time in, reading, doing it, application, networking, and it's putting my time in to learn the thing at the highest level. So the more time I put in, the quicker I got to mastering. And
Okay.
I was able to see those results pretty quickly. And in real estate, you just do it. If you do 500 phone calls versus 100, the results are there. Like it's instant feedback. And that's what I really loved about it. The more time you put in, you saw the results, you saw the clients, you saw the houses. And that's what the 10,000 hours really meant to me which was I needed to catch up because I was 44 years old, 43 years old, enter into a new career and have
Mm-hmm.
zero knowledge. What's the best way to, catch up? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you just, and I love something that you shared before we went on camera here, is that you came out of the military, so you were set, but then you had made a decision also, and I just want to jump in, this isn't necessarily your military mindset yet. It is in that you're a provider. You take care of people. You've been taking care of our country, and things like that. You mentioned coming out like zero. This is a whole new career and played catch up, and you made new goals that you could achieve in the real estate space. You were like, this is it. Do you want to share
Yeah.
a
So
little bit about that?
I came out with approximately $20,000 in my savings accounts and, thrift savings plan, which is not a lot. Myself, the government did take care of me for my service for 26 years. And, the pension, I do have disability and things like that as well. Medical, all those things were great. But then I looked at my kids, I looked at the future of their kids, I looked at the future of what my legacy was. And basically, when I pass, at that day, if I retire from the army, I pass, I literally left them nothing except for, a great example, I guess, because all my kids joined the army as well. They're like, hey, we actually all served together at the same time. We're
Oh, wow.
serving together at the same time. And that's when I quickly also realized, this is also another opportunity to help create generational wealth because I really didn't have anything. Didn't have anything. My service, some great memories. I love my country. I love America, and I would do it all over again. But it was my shot to live the America's dream of what I defended.
How did you decide like real estate was it? When you were like, this is it, this is it. Because a lot of people go into real estate, and I talk to different people like, oh, I felt easy. And then they look at the paycheck, and I'm like, I could just do a couple. But the fact is that 87% of the people fail when it comes to real estate. And clearly, failure was not an option for you and your mindset and what you've shared. What drew you to real estate in general?
Now that I look back on it, I always tell everybody about the depression because the identity of being a soldier was the only thing I knew as well. So when I was deciding to retire and take off the uniform, I didn't know who Dustin Overson was.
Oh, wow.
He
Okay.
was a soldier from 17 to his 40s. I didn't know anything else. So I was definitely down on myself. And I believe I needed real estate you know, very badly. I needed that identity. And it has a void of leadership as well, because a lot of people, even though agents are great at taking care of clients, and man, they will sacrifice commission, time, energy, and family to have their family become successful. But they wrap that knowledge and they lock onto that and don't share that as much.
Right.
Um, and I really needed real estate because I needed that identity. So I picked up a book by accident, which was written by Gary Keller, The Millionaire Next Door. And I started reading that, and I just emotionally latched on to anything. But at the same time, realizing that every episode, HGTV, flip this house, flip that house, you see all this. So it looked like I could attach to something and have a very great reward for it as well. But I didn't know that I was going to really be that successful at it and get it that well. I needed it. I was a soldier without a cause, really, right? It was taken. I let it go because I just
Right.
tired, and I
Right.
adopted real estate.
Yeah. And to share with the audience now, you went into real estate 5 years ago. So you liked it, you were drawn to it. You had a moment with, Gary Keller and grabbing the book, destiny, I would probably call that. So you grabbed the book, it inspired you, you went all out. And then just to let readers know where you are today, and then I'm going to go back to some of the mindset stuff, and maybe we'll have time to jump into strategies and things, that agents would want to learn. And, we can always do more episodes because I know a lot of people would love to know about flipping and this and that and buying as much as you have. But where are you now in the 5 years? You went from 2019 through COVID.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, COVID was a challenge. I think we all, but I actually did very well. I hear a lot of people did do well. So now I'm actually run and operate the first EXP brick and mortar brokerage in Richmond. So I'm in that building right now. I am purchasing about a house per week on average out of a 52-week span. I'm doing about a house a week, and that's either an acquisition for flipping, a hold are in some category as there. I do have a private construction company, a title company. I do off-market properties. I have that as well. I own a real estate team called One Dream Realty Group. Does about, 30, 40 million a year as well with about 10 agents. And I really just enjoy the business aspect of it now more than anything. And like I tell people honestly, I may flip 40 houses this year, but I don't see them anymore unless I really want to go and see them and enjoy that experience still because I was able to turn a lot of this into a business, and not be as transactional where you have to be there for the business to run. So I put a lot of systems and processes in place that replace me. So
Yeah,
the business runs
sure.
in my absence. And that's where I'm at now, really just developing systems and processes that make these business run, in my absence.
Right, when you're not there. And so I have to ask real quick. So when you in your role of I'm doing about a house a week, are you and I don't know the answer that you're going to tell me, but are you funding these like in a cash on the back end and saying that these are yours? Like are you doing hard money lending and saying that you're making money off of that and that's yours? Or are you literally putting them in your name and having construction crews and having somebody else do the design and all of that for you? And so that the titles are actually going in your name, et cetera, et cetera. Tell me.
Question. I like it. Yeah, no, everything goes in my LLC's names. I have project managers, I have construction managers, I have staging and designing. And yeah, literally I purchased those properties. And now what LLC it goes or what series LLC it goes, or if it goes in a trust, that really depends on the exit strategy. I do have private money, I do have hard money, and I have conventional money as well, lines. And it really just depends on the strategy or your exit strategy on what money you want to use, whether it's a short-term bridge, a long-term bridge, or to go into a long-term hold, or you're just flipping it. And sometimes I'm just buying them right then and there on a spot, and they're going back on market in 30 days. So when you do acquisition that many properties, that exit strategy varies a whole lot.
Yeah.
Um, so hopefully that
Okay.
answers the question.
Yeah. Well, I just was curious because, to a lot of people hearing you're saying, oh, you're doing a house a week and then you're managing this and you're managing that. I think a lot of people would also ask, how do you manage your time?
So, military, right? Definitely time management from age 17, that is drilled into you. Now time is everything. Now I value time a lot more as well. And I'm learning that, true wealth is the time of wealth and being able to decide what you want to do and how you want to do it. Not saying I'm always there, but I'm learning how to leverage other people's time so I get my time. And that's why it's so important to have the systems and processes in place. But I do have a pretty strict schedule. I'm still getting up at 3 a.m. sometimes, majority of the week. I still do physical fitness. I run about 10 to 12 miles a week and go to the gym. I do save time for my mindset because I'm still playing catch up from the military and learning all the real estate knowledge and skill sets that are needed to be successful. And I'm still on that journey. So I have to set time for that. On Mondays, I try to incorporate a lot of my leadership in my departments, and I get a lot of my meetings done on that one day of the week because you
Okay.
have departments. And, we're in a big room, we're in this office, and the slides go up just like we do in the military. And we do a company update brief. I don't brief them, they brief me, and we get it done. And we're actually done in about an hour and a half.
Wow. All the companies. That's awesome. That's really remarkable. Do you run it? I met your wife. Is she part of your business or is she part of like your personal life? And but she was there, so
No, she is. She does sign on a lot of the houses. She is a decision maker. She helps run the branch. She has her own transaction coordination company as well. And she is helps me stay on track and in line. And she's actually an advisor more than anything. And she has an intuition that I don't have. And it's very important. And I rely on that.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's a woman thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, I don't remember where I heard where it came up, but it was talking about like we have a different. This might sound weird, and but like women have like almost like we can recognize a different frequency. And so we say that intuition, like how did like she knew it, like you just said it, but it's easier to also be like, how we will like watch a show and all of a sudden we'll get emotional or we'll be like, oh, and then the guys are like looking at us like, what? But we can feel it, like it's just
A
it,
fun fact,
it's real.
every one of my businesses is ran by a woman. Even my construction side, I have no male managers or anything. They're actually all female.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
not, yeah, they just, I don't know how that happened. And they all have a very unique intuition. And, they're all very good advisors for me as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, so coming into your like real estate investing strategy, I think for me, it'd be interesting to know, hearing that you're doing one a week. And if somebody's like, I don't even know where to get started, but like you mentioned, you can do flips, you can do holds, there's different types of properties. But you're not just like flipping homes, but you're building a long-term investment like portfolio. So is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, majority of it is lies or smoke and mirrors. I would say when you look at the flipping world, somebody is doing one a week. You're not going to always do so well on them. One a week is kind of to feed the beast. And a lot of people say, well, it's cool to feed the beast, but who's taking care of the beast, which is like, me, but I own the construction company, I own the title company, I'm listing it, I'm selling it, I own the property, so I keep the difference from the sell and the loan amount. So within that flip, there could be seven streams of revenue or eight, which I purposely built that because I realized that you could do 10 and you only might knock out six out of the park. One make break even and you have a couple losses because you're going to have losses. Anybody that shoots that many shots, you're not going to win on 52 houses.
Mhm.
But I'm always going to make money on title. I'm always going to get the 3%. I'm always going to make, 15% on construction. So you see where that balances out.
Right.
And that's the ecosystem that I developed because, it's very risky. It's high stakes real estate, put in the best vehicle, which is a flip in a house. And it doesn't take too much to lose everything. So,
No.
and then that attraction, right? So everybody's like, oh, you flip houses, is a very high attraction. Now become very attractive to sellers, agents, banks, lenders, everybody, because you're deploying millions and millions of dollars. So you're putting money to work. And that is actually probably one of the biggest gains of flipping houses is I'm not a flipper, right? I'm an operator and I flip money. I don't really flip houses. Now, at that stage, when you're flipping that many, you're flipping money. You're not flipping
Yeah,
houses.
that makes sense. Haven't really thought
Right,
about it. It makes sense to pull
right,
it together.
right. So I'm an operator, and a lot of lenders have this thing called a controller. That's a whole nother segment or story. And I get these lines of credit or whatever it is, or a lender will say, like Kiavi say, hey, you have 8 million, you have 9 million to put to work, and that's your line. So I'm flipping all these houses, and then I use the Burr method, the Burr strategy, still
Which
alive,
is
still works. So you're buying the home. So I find it has to be discounted. It's not just buy any home, it has to be a discounted home. and you want to be 75% of the after repair value plus holding costs and construction, right? So
Mhm.
you buy, right? Then you repair it, then you find a renter, you put a renter in there, and then you refinance, and then they say you repeat. But there's a secret there. So yeah, Burr with the R, but there's an S there. There's an S. And the S is initially it's for scale, but it's also for me scale. It means save and it means systems because you can't repeat without doing that. And all that flip capital, if you're living off of it, you're not going to make it. You have to be able to reinvest that money so you could get to lines or get opportunities to keep the good houses.
Mhm.
Like the really, really good houses. When you're doing that many, you have to. So if I'm doing one a week, imagine how many I get to see come across my laptop.
Right.
Right. So now you could cherry pick very good prime location, great stuff. $600,000 ARVs, houses worth $600,000, but you're picking them up for $300,000 or 250. Those are the ones you keep. And so it's really a holistic view of it. I think everybody just separates it as you got flip and you got burr and you got hold and you got commercial. I've placed it in an ecosystem and that system and that hub pushes out a house maybe once a quarter that I keep.
Yeah.
But one house that I keep per quarter or two per quarter may have 200 to $300,000 in equity in them. And that's really where do 10 of those, do five of those, and you'll see
Compound effect.
yeah, that's really where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm curious, and we could talk on forever, you know what I mean? It's like, hey Dustin, can we schedule another one of these? You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of people would do well and you'd make a huge impact and then bring them into your organizations and things that you own, which don't let me forget. We definitely want to talk about that. But I mean, so I live in Northern Virginia, and I feel like there's just not as much investment opportunity here as much because of the price tag to do flips, and they're out there, right? They're definitely there, and I've done some, and I'm in my mid-state house now, and I picked up one, last year. And how do you come across that volume of these? Like people will be like, well, how do I find those properties? How do you come across access to those? Or people will ask a lot, what about wholesale? What about this? What's your quick answers to be like, this is kind of how you find them, this is where you look?
Mhm. It's simple. Everybody is I add massive value to my proposition. So I just provide so much value when I work with somebody. They almost can't reciprocate amount of what I'm bringing. But what also happens is you're providing value and you're solving problems and providing solutions. So I'm actually only inbound. I make zero phone calls. The only reason I have a wholesale kind of department is because I receive so many houses. I'm just like, all right, you guys take that. I'll look at what's coming across and I'll pick what I want. You guys disposition all that other stuff. But I am value based and I'm inbound. People call me because my phone's ringing because they want a solution, and it's going to be an honest solution. And I'm not trying to take this house and rob somebody of their equity and then sell it to somebody else or assign my equitable rights on that contract to make a gain. I'm trying to generate wealth through actually purchasing it in my LLC's name. And
Hmm.
we're gonna close and you're gonna get cash, and there's no secret running, hiding stuff behind the window stuff that we're doing. It's just upfront. So a lot of people call me because I'm a problem solver. More problems is more money is what I learned in real estate. A lot of people say more. This is because you're getting called because that's actually my value. They're like, Dustin, I have this hard problem. What's the exit? What's the exit strategy? Are you my exit? Can you help me with the exit? Can you connect me somebody so you could help me? And that's why my phone rings a lot.
So your phone, I mean, and I'm just going to get a little tactical
Mhm.
because, how do you get your phone to ring? Are you, as I'm listening, I'm like, okay, are you running ads that say, hey, need to sell your house in 7 days? Or people hear about like reaching out to wholesalers that come to you? Like, I'm just curious what made,
Mhm.
right? Is that fair?
So maybe I have a name now more than what I did, but I didn't have a name. I didn't really have a brand. I worked for other teams and all these other things. But if you go on my social media, if you go on my Facebook, you will just see me sharing the success of the value I add to something, and a person that's a new agent, for 90 days and has a listing, two buy sides, and invested in two houses. Like, and
Uh-huh.
you see that over and over and over again, which makes them either reach out to me or that person that I help refer to their friends and their family and say, hey, I got somebody that helped me. This is what we did. I want you to reach out to them. And I'll give them my number or instant message or something like that. But
So,
literally, it's based off of the value and the success of others is why I get my leads.
so you're getting your leads from properties by going in and, and these are usually distressed properties, where people are like, I helped this person or this family came to me, they needed to sell or they had a situation, and then enough over time saw this
Mhm.
so that just your circle of people started enough. I mean, I think that that's probably shocking for a lot of people to hear that it's not you running ads on TV that says I buy homes in 7 days or putting the signs out or any of that. It's just all worked through organic to the point that you have a point person. You subscribe to lists of properties and you get those. Like I would subscribe to a couple lists and I would get these emails and texts like all the time about this property and that property, and eventually it was a little overwhelming. You just getting them purely, or I'm just asking because I know a lot of listeners will want to hear this. They're gonna be like, I want to know, I want to get in, or I'm in my area and I want to figure out how to start attracting that kind of business. So what would you leave people with if they want to become an investor or help have, like you are, or just attracting the leads and becoming the seller, like putting the solution together? What would you like to leave people with for?
So you have two types of really distress, which is distressed seller and a distressed buyer, and that's it. And you could say you got one more, which is the both of the two, right? House is distress, really tore down, and can't put it on market, can't sell it. You know, that's great for an agent. And the reason I'm saying it's not great for an agent, but an agent will call me, say, I have a distressed property. My clients already got their home, they're ready to move. I can't put this on market because it needs $50,000 in work and they're downsizing. So I say, yes, agent, let's talk about exit strategy and solution. Let me buy that home. You're already on market. Let me put in an offer for that home. Let me look at the construction, and I'm going to fix this up, and you're going to list it. And sometimes on top of that, I was like, hey, when's the last time you invested in a home? They go, I have never invested in a home. So I might say, well, you know, let's do 5,000, let's do 10,000. And now you have a stake into this after I purchase it. If you want to invest in it, let's do something like that if you would like. But usually they just like, hey, I'm not ready for all that. I would love to list that house for you. And I allow them to list it. They're allowed to photograph. They could call me about what's going on with the house, questions. I may, if they're seasoned enough, like, hey, help out a little bit. Help with the project management, help with the property management, help with the design a little bit. And that gets them involved and they get to see what's going on. So that's one way. So you can imagine a lot of agents want to take advantage of that. They
That's
got
right.
a house and no one wants to buy it because of the neighborhood or how bad it is. So they'll call me that. A friend or a family member may call me and, they say, hey, I have a friend are a friend of a friend, and they're in a really bad position right now, and they're going through a divorce, and they just not ready to show this house. Emotionally, they can't do this. Can you just put in a cash offer for them, and let's see if we could get them to take it and move on? I just get a lot of that, which is a distressed seller.
Right, right. What
But
is your average? I'm sorry.
just providing solutions. Yeah.
Yeah. What is your average price range for what you're looking at in your
It's
generally?
yeah, so it's not really about price, it's about size of home. Um,
Okay.
because a lot of people want the big home, and I call them the glory flip. And I used to do them 4,000 square feet. I'm in there a year, permits, everything. Comes out to this beautiful home. Everybody's like, wow, but you made no money, right?
Yeah.
So I really love, that 15, 16, even 2,000 square feet. I wouldn't like to go too far than that. But, 3-2, 4-2, 4-3 bedroom, something that, I could guarantee myself success at, along with helping that person, because I don't want to buy their problem. I just got one in Newport, no, in Hamptons Road. And they're like, hey, we got to be out of this house in 3 weeks. I'm like, 3 weeks? What happened? It's like, we found our dream home. And it is, you get cool stories like, we found our dream home, but we got to get rid of this home to get that home. And I was like, okay, what do you want? And they wanted way too much. I was like, hey, I pass. I'm not buying your problem. Right?
Right. That's
Whatever
right.
they
Yeah. Good
want, like,
point.
right?
Yeah.
I can't buy your problem. I need to make a profit for the solution. And they go like, wow, we never looked at it that way. I was like, thank you. And we've come to a good price range where, I don't want to make nothing but a minimum of this. And they're like, hey, we could do that. And I close next week.
There you go. Yeah. So, okay. So if agents like you have some programs that where people can get involved with you, can you share like how can people follow up with you? How do you help people so that we can and then hopefully we'll have you again because there's so much of this that we could, people are probably like, no, I want to know this, I want to know this, but how do people, what do you want to do next steps with people to connect with you?
So I don't get too crazy with it. Is, Dustin Overson, my first and last name. Look me up on social media and just reach out and say, hey, I have this, or I would like to know that. And I really just try to answer those questions. Another way you could do is just email me, is my first name at oversons with a s.com. So it's Dustin at oversons.com. And maybe, you don't want me to buy it, but you're looking, hey, what does this deal look like? And I really just go through, but that's that value, right? That you're adding. And maybe we don't do the second house together, but you get one, and you're like, hey, I got two too many. Dustin, this one's yours. Thank you for
Right.
helping me out for the last two. So just contacting me and I'm going to respond back, at least within 24 hours. And
Perfect.
hopefully I can add some value to you.
Good. No, I love it. Well, I appreciate you sharing all of this, from military to now, really running a machine. And like you said, giving back. And I hope that you'll come back again. I hope all of you that are listening grab some tips and some tricks and please subscribe and follow us on this channel so that you can get more things that will help you increase your success to become that $1 million agent like Dustin, like myself. It's a journey, right?
It is a long journey.
That's right. All right. Thank
Okay,
you.
okay. Bye.